The U.S. Supreme Court declined on Tuesday to review an Oklahoma abortion law, effectively upholding a ruling by the Oklahoma Supreme Court that it is unconstitutional to require a woman to undergo an ultrasound test just before terminating a pregnancy. Joining us now with more on this story is Chris Castile via Skype from Washington. Thanks for your time today, sir.
Absolutely, Dave.
Well, Chris, as you wrote for our online version of this story on newsok.com, it's actually the second time this month that the U.S. Supreme Court rejected an appeal from Oklahoma on an abortion case. Did the U.S. Supreme Court give us a reason for why it didn't take the Oklahoma case?
No, the justices did not give a reason today, Dave, and that's not unusual. In fact, that's typical. But they had shown an interest in this case, as they had in the other case that you mentioned that involved medicinal abortion, taking drugs to terminate a pregnancy. They were interested in that case. They were interested in this case as well. They wanted, in this case, in the ultrasound law case, they wanted to hear arguments from both sides in this case. You know, why should we review this law? Why shouldn't we review this law? And ultimately, once they heard those arguments, once the justice heard those arguments, they couldn't, get enough support on the court to actually review the law. And it could be in this case with the ultrasound that there's just not enough conflict in the lower courts. There's not enough conflict among the states about this kind of law. The Oklahoma Supreme Court had struck down this law, and according to an abortion rights group, Center for Reproductive Rights, that challenged this law, the Oklahoma law is unusual from the other states that have passed one. So it had been struck down. There didn't seem to be any real tension among the states or among federal courts about this particular issue. So it wasn't right for them to hear that. Though, as I said, the justices seem to be looking for a case where they can get back into, looking at how far states can go to put restrictions on abortion.
We're chatting via Skype with Chris Castile, the Oklahoman's reporter based in Washington. Chris, let's talk some local angles here. How did Oklahoma Attorney General Scott Pruitt and the abortion rights groups respond today?
Well, the Attorney General, who wanted the Supreme Court to hear this appeal because he's trying to get the law reinstated, it was struck down, as I said, by the Oklahoma Supreme Court. He also wanted the court to review the law on drug-induced abortions, lost on both counts. What he said today was that he was disappointed that the U.S. Supreme Court wouldn't review it. And he said he was that a similar law in Texas had been upheld by a federal appeals court, and that to him this meant that the Oklahoma Supreme Court was basically holding state law to a different standard than Texas law was held to. The Center for Reproductive Rights basically responded that this was a blow for women's rights and a blow against politicians trying to intrude upon them. But really, what is different about the Texas case, as the Center for Reproductive Rights pointed out, was that was a case that was really challenged on First Amendment grounds. Texas had an ultrasound law requiring physicians to depict the images that were seen on the ultrasound of the fetus. And physicians, among the challenges to the law, physicians said, "Look, you can't compel me to tell a patient something." Well, that challenge failed. So. But that was totally different, totally different type of challenge in the Texas law than it was in Oklahoma, where they were saying, look, this is an undue burden on a woman's right to an abortion. So probably not a great comparison, and possibly one of the reasons the U.S. Supreme Court didn't take up the case is because you don't really have a real conflict among the courts over these restrictions yet.
He always brings good explanations and context. Chris, we appreciate your time today, sir.
Glad to do it, Dave.
All right, more coverage from Chris Castile can be found on our website at newsok.com and in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman.